Welcome to the OC Hive Mind, everyone. They killed the bird for me. This is Victor, joined by the favorite grief connoisseur, Sparky.
How we doing today, everybody? Welcome to another final round of Modern at our FNMs. Today we got Bobby on Izzet Through the Breach and CJ on Boros Energy. Victor, who do you got in this matchup?
Bobby with an interesting list. I'm going to assume just at face value, this is probably akin to an old Blue Moon style deck. Haven't really looked at the list, so I'm going to go in the blind. With that being said, if that's the kind of deck, I think Boros Energy is just too consistent, too low to the ground for the through the breaching to really matter, but I could be wrong.
I die roll. Ugh. I'm gonna have to go with I'm gonna take Bobby's side of this matchup because I like the deck. I like Through the Breach Emrakul right now in the format, and I also believe that there are some pain points that it can put on the Boros Energy deck currently with its removal and like Snapcasters and bolts and stuff.
I think we'll have to put a steak dinner on it.
Oh, I mean, the unfortunate part is I know how this matchup plays out because I was the man in the booth for this. So,
okay, well that's tainted. So we're gonna move on.
Yeah, we'll move on from there. But steak dinner on the next one. What I will say is I did watch Bobby in one of the earlier rounds, and the list is definitely pretty spicy.
Yeah, I mean, Blue Moon was always an interesting modern deck that from way back before Modern Horizons, and I always thought it was very interesting. Certainly tested your mid-range knowledge because it certainly plays more like a mid-range deck. A little bit more stack interaction, but certainly there.
Yeah, and I mean it's got some really good cards in it. As you can see, because we have the deck list in front of us. He's got Archmage's Charms, which haven't been seen in a little while. You have the whole Snapcaster Bolt scenario going on. Remand, which is a card that hasn't really been seen a lot of play. And then you have CJ playing MH3 Limited.
You know, I for one enjoy a Modern Horizons 3 constructed deck. I mean, bring it back to the Pro Tour.
Yeah, I mean, like it's when they print all the powerful cards in one set, it's hard for it not to be good, right? Remand on the Raptor, solid tempo play. Are there any cards, if you were sitting in the Boros seat, are there any cards you're worried about seeing from Bobby right now, especially like him going into his turn 3?
I mean, if I don't know what my opponent's playing and I just see this start so far, I'm definitely thinking about, the possibility of just the hard counters. This is now the time where your opponent's passing with mana up. I mean, depending on the lineup of spells, you certainly don't want to get countered too many times. Your Amped Raptor is important. That's a good value engine. I assume here that CJ's probably gonna, if it resolves, certainly get some value.
There's an interesting card in Bobby's hand. Bobby has Archmage's Charm and can just steal this Guide of Souls. If Bobby has any action of other creatures, he could just start pumping his own dudes and giving them flying.
I mean, there's 4 Emrakul, 4 Snapcaster Mage. So I don't know if I like stealing it. I think it's better off just being killed. I don't know if you're going to get a value at it for it to matter. I think letting the Amped Raptor resolved is worse in my mind than just leaving it with the Guide of Souls.
That's true. And I mean, like, looking at the other spells in his deck, he's got Spell Snares, he's got a couple, like, Fire Ices, Prismari Commands, a couple Force Negations.
He will get full value here, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, 100%. This Fire Ice is looking tasty.
Fire Ice, definitely not something we've seen in a hot minute just because of the somewhat fallout of the Cascade
Rhinos!
Decks. Yeah, no Rhinos, no 4/4s going around, so...
I did watch a YouTube video, not to promote another channel, but Manguchi was playing Rhinos and did not do too well with it.
Yeah, it seems like it's just... The engines are just getting stronger, they're getting faster, and somehow, a 1 card that produces 8 power and 8 toughness just isn't cutting it anymore.
No, it's not, especially when you draw it in your hand. Putting it on Cascade's not, or putting it on Suspend is not the best spot for it to be in.
Certainly not where you want to be.
Yeah. How much do you love a good 2-for-1, Victor?
Listen, I'm always about the value. So
They call you Value, Victor.
they do. It looks like Bobby's hand's getting a little clunky with.
I like this here to see if he can find a land.
Yeah, well, he's gonna need some lands. Oof.
Ooh, he got a Snapcaster Mage. That's not bad. He's got the Bolt in his yard. This is a common thing that we see with some of the Jeskai control decks where I'm not sure. It looks like Bobby's playing 21 lands in his deck, and he's trying to get to a 5-mana like instant. So I'm not sure how I feel about all that. I mean, he's got like the draw triggers off of Ops and Remands, and you can draw cards with the Archmage's Charms and the Prismari commands, and the I guess Ice. There's enough cantrips in the deck that I think it's fine, but I still think 21's low. And I know that like Javier was running like 22 lands in the Jeskai control deck he played at the Pro Tour that he did well with, but I think some of these decks need a few more lands.
I just think with how the energy decks are coming at you, here's the one thing that we can both agree on. What does Bobby not have in his deck that's going to help against this? Mass board wiping, especially game one.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, let me check his sideboard. Does he have like a Pyroclasm? How do I look at sideboards on his thing? Oh, here it
yeah,
is.
that's a good
I found
question.
it.
Oh, yeah.
He does not have. So he's got 2 Brotherhoods End in the side, and he has 2 Izzet Staticaster. If you remember, it stops tokens. It stops Ocelot Pride tokens. It kills insect tokens if that was a thing anymore. But I mean, like, I think this is more of a deck for like a week ago when Nadu is still around, and those are the things you wanted to hate on. I think currently you might just want like more Brotherhoods and more Pyroclasm. That's kind of where I want to be.
Yeah, I mean, looking at some of the league results and the challenge results that are out there, it certainly seems like Pyroclasm is starting to see a little bit more of a pickup in play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is where like tempo decks like Blue Moon struggle. You're stuck with a bunch of counter spells. The problem is that the board, the counter spells are basically useless at this point. You have to deal with the board, and this is a board that really is going to be hard to deal with, especially if that Ajani flips for any reason.
So there's a part of me that almost wants to like kind of kill the Ocelot Pride and the Cat Warrior here. I know I'm going to flip the Ajani. I know that like there's a bunch of bad things that are going to happen for me, but I think if I can just make it to the turn where I can play it through the breach and put Emrakul into play, all this is going to get cleaned up, and I don't care. I mean, he doesn't have the City's Blessing yet, so he's not even like 6 permanents for him is pretty bad, right? Because he's only got 9. He'd be left with 3 permanents after that.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
And here's another cantrip. I mean, I think that was a fine cantrip. You're taking damage using your life total as a resource, but I'm not sure how much longer you can do that.
Yeah, that's the
3,
part
4,
where I'm
5, 6, 7, 8. Go to 4. Is my math off?
I mean,
yeah,
certainly tough, especially knowing that your opponent has a Flage. I mean, if CJ doesn't do anything there, you could make the argument to go to end step with the trigger on the stack, blow up a cat, blow up an Ocelot in response instead of getting more tokens.
sure.
It's tough with no way to mass remove. Like you're basically going in on seeing the through the breach and doing Emrakul stuff because there's just not enough time.
Yeah, and
to seal this out.
The good thing here, ironically, is CJ does not have a red permanent in play. So like you can flip that Ajani and like nothing really bad happens as long as there's not a red permanent.
Yeah, I mean, not the end of the world that he doesn't have the red permanent, considering that there's just lethal on board. I remember.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah.
The guide is almost lethal. There's enough cats. I mean,
Even still, you're just dead to Johnny and the 2 tokens, right?
No, the Ajani gets taken out of combat because it's gonna flip here.
That's
So,
true. Look at that. I even missed it.
but but the yeah, anytime a cat dies. But again, he blocks a cat. There's 2 cats plus the guide souls.
I want to get us.
So,
I want to get us the dice that has the flying token and stuff on it because I know that that sometimes gets missed, but there is no representation on the
I
guided
think
souls there. But
I think in fairness to how the card reads, it's just an ability that is given. I don't think it actually puts a counter of any kind.
it does. It says you get 2/1/1 counters and a flying counter on target attacking creature, and it's an angel in addition to other types.
Oh, it is a
Like
flying
it,
counter.
it
Never
gets
mind.
a
Okay.
counter. So like
Oh.
haven't and I mean like those are things easily missed, especially in like fun games when we're just sitting down and playing. But
Ooh, Sun Cleanser stops that. That's pretty cool. It's relevant.
yeah, which is pretty interesting.
All right, let's see these sideboards here. So, since I chose CJ as my champion here, Surgical doesn't seem like a bad include. The unlicensed hearses don't seem bad either.
No, I think the unlicensed hearse and the surgicals are fine. I also think that like maybe another blood moon, maybe not. I mean like if you just make it red, I'm not sure how bad that is for Bobby. On Bobby's side, I mean I want the 2 Brotherhoods ends, right? I want like maybe the Staticaster. So that's 4 cards, and then it would be. I mean, CJ normally fetches for basics, but it would be interesting to see him cut off of like red sources. So like, there's a part of me that also wants to bring in the Harbingers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of interesting that both of them can bring in like moon type effects if CJ wanted to, and if
Yeah,
Bobby wanted to, just to see that maybe hope that the person on the play can sneak it in. Now, here's the thing: Bobby has to cast that on 3. CJ potentially does it on turn 2 when you don't have the ability to play around it, because Bobby may go, steam vents to smooth out his mana,
sure.
plus maybe one island.
And then if I'm looking at Bobby's deck, I don't think. Oh, he does have a mountain to find, so he wouldn't be out of the woods if he needed to fetch it. Then CJ just has the two plains and then the 1 mountain. But I mean, like if CJ's on a draw where it's like Sacred Foundry Aether Hub, like he's just locked out of the game.
Yeah, you would certainly be more inclined to hope that your amp raptors hit the field so that way you can start casting stuff for free.
Yeah,
But he only needs 1 white to really, do anything. Sure, he can't maybe double spell or like he did in game 1, but yeah, it would be interesting to see if these guys
I would
bring in
even I
some.
would even I would even go to say that like him just playing a spell every turn is just putting enough pressure on Bobby where Bobby's going to do something. Both players mold a 6. I don't see a lot of lands in Bobby's hand. It looks like just 2. It looks like 2 flooded strands. And he ships a Archmage's Charm to the bottom. And we got CJ going to 5.
Yeah, I mean 5 not. You mean Bobby obviously excited to have the aggro opponent go down to 5, but watching the Boros energy deck, I mean,
I'm never
there's
actively rooting for it when I'm the player, but it does kind of feel good.
yeah. But with Boros energy, I mean, even on 5, I mean, sure, it's not Tron where 4 to 5 card hand just still gets there, like a lot of the times. But you sculpt the hand in the right way, it can be a dangerous curve out.
Sure. And I mean, I think there's even a line where like I'm looking at Bobby's hand, he doesn't have a 1 mana removal spell. So like if CJ goes 1 drop into 2 drop, that might be enough to get the ball rolling.
Well, he does have Fire Ice, I believe, so he does at least have that to pick off like the Guide of Souls. But
Ooh. This is one of the only things I don't like to see from the Boros deck is when they don't play a 1 drop.
Yeah, but if you think about it, you're on a mold of 5. You're probably not going to be that great on curve anyway. You
Sure.
might as well just try to smooth out the future turns.
I guess that's definitely a fair way to look at it that I didn't think about. Um, it'll be interesting. Bobby on his turn didn't crack his fetch lands because he wants to draw the lands in his deck. I think that was a smart line from him. And then we'll see what happens here. I have a feeling we got an amped Raptor. Ooh. A pretty basic island. Oh, I missed
Okay.
this in the booth. He should be at 18. Because I didn't realize he was putting the vents in tapped.
All right. Well, CJ to save the day.
Yeah, he reminded me.
Nice job, CJ.
Good guy, CJ. I've heard people say that he sounds like Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, those people should probably be seeing. Actually, I'll say that for the people that think that, go see a doctor, get your hearing checked, and then I don't know, go rewatch the movies.
Here's a thought. I mean, I think this is going to line up well with the fire. But is there a possibility or a world where you ice his dual land in his upkeep to draw a card? I mean, it worked out for the play here, right? To fire and like still get something down. But if you're trying to draw lands, I think I may have wanted to ice. And I mean, like the Regavan would have got in, but because he had a land to play.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot what Bobby's draw was, so
He drew
I
he
don't
drew the
know.
spell snare that's all the way at the far right side of his hand.
Okay, yeah, missing a land drop, not great. It is hard because you have to ask yourself how many turns can I go before it's too detrimental for me to lose a land drop.
Yeah.
So it's a tough call. Oof.
Yeah, that's a little rough when you gotta kill your own guy, but I think it's fine.
I think the trade off for CJ is a lot better in the long run, especially if there's any like potential Amped Raptor draws available or
I
things
may have
like that.
missed the amped raptor. No, it is there. Okay.
Oh, there you go. So like
Static prison, not getting cast.
well, I mean Bobby lucked out there in the fact that CJ whiffed on the Amped Raptor, but that's
Mm-hmm.
probably about as bad as it can get as far as the usage of the Archmage's Charm. I
We've
mean,
drawn one of our pieces that we need. We
oh,
have a
he's
Brotherhood's End in the hand. We just need another red source. Another good line. I don't always like the Fable. I think Fable is the worst card in the Boros deck. Um, but I do like what it can do in making copies of like Guide of Souls and doing some fun stuff.
I certainly think it brings some mid-range value to it. I'm personally a fan of the one ring versions of these decks. I think it just gives them an extra line that
It makes it a little bit more mid-rangey, is in my
yeah.
opinion.
Luckily for Bobby, I don't think any of CG's cards have raid, so
No, I think that's fair. Uh, although there was an interesting line from Bobby where he could have cracked the fetch, found a red source, and left up Spell Snare with a Brotherhood's End to clean up this board. But he could just be waiting for the right time.
I think he's trying to cash in on a maximum value.
That's fair. Though I wouldn't
Yeah, this I don't agree
I
with.
wouldn't make this play if I was going to play the Brotherhood's End. But that's fair.
Yeah, but I think you're better off just countering the Amp Raptor and then next turn letting the Shaman flip. I'm sorry, not the Shaman, but the Saga flip
Yeah, I
and
get that.
cashing in. And if you're doing that, then the snap gets washed up anyway. I mean, you're gonna get 2 damage in, which might be relevant, but
There was
I don't
also an
know.
interesting line where CJ could have given that Amp Raptor haste to try and get in more damage, like casting it before attacks.
Yeah, that might have been good. He has plenty of mana, but I think a lot of times people are ingrained into Arena of Glory gives Flage haste, and that's what
Just
it
play
does.
chase. Yeah,
Yeah, like the card should read that, and a lot of people probably wouldn't even notice.
that's true. And I mean, like, there's interesting parts where you can split the mana up, like use one of the red for like an Ajani, use the other red for an Amped Raptor, and then get in with a few creatures in one turn. Yeah,
Oh,
there
hey,
it is.
speak of the devil.
I think that Flage has been remanned every time it's been cast in these games.
Well, a remand into a remand.
Uh, I think I blocked the Goblin. Yeah. And I mean, Bobby's just waiting. He needs one more land. Again, he needs one more land, and then he just needs the Through the Breach. And the fun part is it cleans up everything. Bobby sees Prismari Command, good draw for the turn, and also lines up well with the Spell Snare in his hand or the Lightning Bolt.
I mean, he could Prismari Command, snipe the Goblin, loot potentially.
That's a fine line. I think I would not tap my red mana. Oh, okay. Then yeah, I would tap my red mana.
Just cashing in the 2 now.
That's fair. Easy 2 for 1. You know he's got a
Yeah.
Flage in hand. What's the next worst thing that can happen? Although I think he drew the next worst thing that could happen.
Hey, for everyone at home, you know what Flage also does?
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Yep. All
Flage gains
right.
you life. That was a spoiler for the kids at home.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is rough. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing two of the big guys. I think it's deal 2 loot at this point.
I
Maybe I
agree.
don't know. There's a
'Cause it-
Flage in the yard
There's
anywhere
there's
with
a there's
haste.
a part of me that just wants to get rid of one of those Emrakuls. Ooh. Okay. Does he know he's dead?
If he might not be realizing the though. If he had seen a land instead of no, you
It's
would have needed
yeah.
Fire Ice. Yeah, so the Through the Breach. If it was land and not Through the Breach, you have the ability to bolt the Pride and then also ice the Flage to buy yourself the next turn and
Yeah,
then
you would have
hope to
only
draw
gotten
the.
you would have only taken 4 damage, and then hopefully you get to the point. The problem I think is I don't think he can draw like a fetch land here or a steam vent. Don't think that card's relevant because we got Flage mana and Arena. Baller CJ, show me counterspell.
Hey, make him have it.
Exactly. Bobby goes down to 3. I don't know the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8. So there are 8 sources that he could draw off the top of his deck right now. I'm not sure how many cards are in his deck right now, but if I were to run the numbers, I think he's got like a 20-ish, probably less percent shot to draw the card he needs to play the Through the Breach. And I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, the Through the Breach is, at this point it's over now, because the
Yeah.
Through the Breach, you just keep the Flage,
And then
you're
attack.
tapped out, and unfortunately it's not enough.
Yeah. Oh, actually,
He has a turn here now, because
he can ice and then fire. Oh no, there's one
no,
token. Oh, there's
forgot
one token.
the mystery blue sleeve of death.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, just unfortunately for Bobby, these spells just never really lined up
Yeah.
when he needed them.
Yeah.
We'll have to get CJ some cat tokens for his birthday or something.
We have some cat tokens coming, hopefully. It was a remand.
Yeah, I mean, unless I'm missing something, there's not enough.
It's always good games by Bobby. We love to have Bobby around. He always brings a fun deck. He was played Adnaz recently. He brought this old school Through the Breach deck. Love to see it. But once again, constructed sealed deck Boros Energy takes one down. Good on CJ. But as you guys may have seen at the intro, we are running our own event. If you are local to New Jersey, we are running the OCHO, the Ocean County Hive Mind Open, this November, coming up November 23rd at the Manasquan First Aid Center. All the details will be found down in the description. You can follow us, find out about any updates, and sign up for the event. It's a modern 1K, and we'd love to see you there. For that, I've been Sparky. Say goodbye, Victor.
Goodbye, Victor.